Okay, so before we even tell you what this deep dive is about today, I feel like I really need to address the elephant in the room.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, well, you might be wondering why I'm sitting across from someone wearing a very fancy button-down shirt and who has just lit a rather aromatic candle on the table right between us.
I mean, it is a vibe, right?
Huh. It is a deeply specific, slightly intense vibe, yes.
Well, there was a very good reason, I promise.
Yeah.
I am actually preparing to take my bank accounts out on a date night.
Wait, what? You were taking your routing numbers on a romantic evening.
I am. And it is all because of the book we are covering today.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, welcome everyone to another deep dive. And yeah, today we are doing something a little more relaxed. We're looking at that famous Orange Aussie book by Scott Pape,
Yes.
The Barefoot Investor.
That is the one.
It is basically all about making money simple for normal people. Because, you know, a lot of you already follow personal finance stuff, so we are completely bypassing the standard 101 spreadsheet lectures today.
Thank goodness.
Right. The whole mission here is just to extract the behavioral psychology of building wealth. Because as we are going to see, the math is actually the easy part. It is the mindset that really messes us up.
It really does. Because when you look at traditional financial advice, it almost always starts with a calculator.
Always.
It starts with these massive projections and compound interest formulas, and frankly, just a lot of unnecessary anxiety.
Yeah, it's overwhelming.
Exactly. What is so fascinating about this book is how it completely flips that script. The central premise here is that building lasting wealth isn't this complex equation you have to solve.
Yep.
It is literally just a series of manageable behaviors you adopt.
Which is so empowering. It means you don't have to be a Wall Street analyst to figure this out.
Right.
And the book uses this really grounding metaphor right off the bat that I want to jump into. It is called the apple tree logic.
Oh, I love this part.
Me too! The author points out that wealth is not a sprint. It is a tree. You plant it and you wait.
Which is hard for people.
No, it is. Think about our culture right now. Everyone is obsessed with the sprint, right? The crypto spikes, the overnight side hustles, the instant gratification.
Yeah, it is an entire culture of agency.
But this logic forces you to slow down. You plant a sapling, and you can't just stand there and yell at it to make it grow faster.
Grow.
Exactly. You just have to plant it, water it, and let time do the heavy lifting.
That patience is completely countercultural, but it is fundamentally how lasting stability is created.
Yeah.
And the metaphor goes a step further, which I think is where the behavioral stuff really kicks in.
The deer.
The deer, yes. The book says that while you are waiting for this tree to grow your main job, really your only daily job is to keep the deer away.
I was laughing so hard at this visual because it is so incredibly accurate to how we actually spend our money.
It is. Think about what deer do to a sapling. They don't uproot it in one giant dramatic motion like a hurricane.
No, they are sneaky.
They just wander up and nibble.
Yeah.
They take a leaf here, a tiny branch there. In this framework, the deer represent our bad spending habits. It is those small, everyday, almost invisible leaks in your finances.
Oh man, I have a confession about this actually.
Let's hear.
So I actually looked at my own bank statements after reading this section.
Always a scary moment.
Terrifying. And I realized I am paying for, I am paying for 3 gym memberships I don't use.
Wait, 3?
3. I kept meaning to cancel them and I just forgot. I mean, that is my mojo brick right there, just gone. That is just a herd of deer living in my checking account and nibbling away every single month.
Huh. 3 gyms. That is impressive. But that proves the book's core argument right there. A math genius can build a brilliant spreadsheet. But if they cannot stop those behavioral deer from nibbling away at their daily funds just through sheer apathy,
Yeah.
their financial tree is never going to grow. It is the unthinking habits that destroy wealth, not usually the one massive luxury purchase.
So true. And recognizing that completely dismantles the barriers people put up. The book aggressively tackles the 3 big excuses people constantly make. Let's walk through them because you hear these all the time.
Yep.
Excuse number 1 is, quote, I am not smart enough. Like, where does that even come from?
Honestly, it comes from an industry that directly benefits from complexity.
Yeah.
The financial services industry relies heavily on jargon, derivatives amortizations, yield curves.
Sounds like a foreign language.
It is designed to build a moat around their services. It makes the average person feel inadequate, which makes them outsource their financial power and pay hefty management fees.
Makes total sense.
But the book argues that basic wealth building does not require calculus. It requires basic addition, subtraction, and behavioral discipline. If you can follow a simple recipe to cook dinner, you are smart enough to manage your money.
Okay, that makes sense conceptually. But what about the second excuse, which is, quote, it is too late for me to start? I mean, if someone is in their 40s or 50s and feels like they have already missed the boat on compounding interest, is the book just offering them false hope?
No, not at all. The book addresses this head on. There's an old proverb, right? The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today.
Right.
Yes, mathematical compounding favors time. But behavioral compounding is immediate.
Oh, I like that.
The moment you stop the deer from eating your daily funds, your quality of life improves instantly. You stop losing sleep over credit card bills. You regain a sense of agency.
You sleep better.
Exactly. That psychological relief doesn't require 20 years to materialize. It happens the very first month you take charge.
That actually leads right into the third and probably most common excuse, which is, I just don't earn enough money.
The big one.
The huge one. And this is where the book introduces the concept of the bucket versus the tap. This completely shifted how I view my own paycheck. The argument here is that financial success is about the bucket, meaning how much you are retaining, not the tap, which is how much income is flowing in.
This is the ultimate counter-argument to the income excuse. Your income is the tap. Yes, it is wonderful to have a tap that gushes water, but if your bucket is full of holes, it does not matter how much water is pouring out of that tap. The bucket will always be empty at the end of the day. We see this all the time with high-income earners who live paycheck to paycheck.
Right, like the professional athletes who go bankrupt?
Precisely. On the flip side, if you have a very small, slow drip of a tap, but your bucket is perfectly solid and holds every single drop.
No dear.
No dear. Eventually, that bucket is going to overflow.
And I think the realization here is that patching the bucket is entirely within your control. You don't have to wait for a boss to give you a promotion or hope for a miraculous career change to start making progress.
Nope.
You just have to patch the holes. Stop the deer. It takes all the pressure off the income side of the equation and puts the focus squarely on your own behavior.
Exactly.
But I mean, okay, how do you actually sit down and patch this bucket without feeling incredibly stressed out?
Well, this brings us back to your favorite topic, my candle and my fancy button-down shirt.
Oh, thank goodness. Please explain.
The book offers a very unique piece of advice regarding the environment in which we make these decisions. It introduces the date night rule.
Yes, the date night rule. The instruction is remarkably simple. Do not talk about money at a desk.
Never.
Do it over dinner. Maybe pour some wine. Play some music.
We have to consider the psychology of the desk.
Yeah.
Think about every time you have sat at a desk to do paperwork, taxes, bills, homework.
All bad things.
For decades, that physical environment has been associated with dread audits and punishment. When you sit at a desk with a calculator, your brain goes into a defensive posture. Cortisol spikes.
Yep.
You feel like you are taking a test that you haven't studied for.
It totally feels like you are being sent to the principal's office.
Right.
And if it feels like a punishment, human nature dictates you simply will not stick to the habit. We naturally avoid pain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
By moving the financial conversation to a dinner table, you are completely reframing the ritual. You are associating financial planning with nourishment, relaxation, and partnership. It changes from a chore to an event you might actually look forward to.
Okay, so you are at the dinner table, the wine is poured, you are relaxed. What is the very first thing you actually do?
You flip.
Right. The book suggests starting with an easy win to take back control, which it calls the bank flip. The instruction is to switch to a fee-free bank, and the author uses pretty strong language here. He basically tells the reader to stop letting big banks rob you every month.
The bank flip is the perfect example of patching a hole in the bucket. The big banks rely heavily on what we might call an apathy tax. $5 here for an account-keeping fee, $3 there for an ATM withdrawal.
Yeah, it's annoying.
Those fees seem so small in isolation that we just ignore them, but they're draining your resources.
Now, I get the idea of firing your bank. I really do. But I have to play the challenger for a second here.
Go for it.
Is switching banks really worth the hassle? I mean, changing all your direct deposits, updating your auto pays, isn't that a massive headache just to save maybe $5 or $10 a month? Is 5 bank accounts actually a nightmare to manage?
It is a totally fair Colton. And that perceived friction is exactly what those massive institutions bank on.
Oh, I see what you did there. Bank on.
Thank you. They know you are too tired to switch. But the book takes a strong stance here because it is not just about the math, it is about the psychological momentum.
Okay.
When you take the time to find a fee-free institution and move your money, you are making an active declaration of independence. You are stepping out of the passive role of accepting whatever terms a corporation dictates, and you are taking back control of your own bucket.
Setting the tone.
Exactly. That psychological win sets the tone for everything else you are about to do. And no, it's not a nightmare to manage if it's all automated.
Okay, fair enough. So you have set the mood with your day night. You have ditched the fees, you have your new accounts. Now you need to know exactly how to organize the money inside that bucket. The book outlines a very practical system involving Mojo and the buckets. Let's start with Mojo.
All right. Mojo is described in the text as a $2,000 safety brick.
Yeah.
And the crucial caveat here is that it is strictly for emergencies only. It sits in its own separate account.
A safety brick. I like the terminology because you build a house on bricks, or you don't build it on sand. Yeah. But again, I have to ask, is $2,000 really enough of a safety net in today's economy? If someone loses their job, $2,000 might barely cover a month's rent.
That is a very common concern.
Yeah.
But we have to look at the specific purpose of the Mojo brick. It is not designed to be a fully funded 6-month income replacement.
Okay.
It is a starting shock absorber. Think about the nature of everyday financial stress. It rarely comes from complete job loss initially. It comes from sudden jarring surprises. A blown car transmission, a sudden dental bill, a leaking water heater.
The curveballs.
Right. The curveballs.
Yeah.
For many people, a $2,000 unexpected expense is devastating. It means going straight into high-interest credit card debt, which starts a rapid downward spiral.
Yep.
The Mojo brick sits at the foundation of the plan so that when life throws that curveball, you have a brick wall to absorb the impact rather than letting it knock over your entire apple tree. Once that brick is in place, it stops the bleeding.
And it has to be for actual emergencies. A spontaneous weekend trip is not an emergency.
Right.
A flash sale on a television is not an emergency. The deer will try to convince you these things are emergencies, but they aren't.
Keep the deer away.
Exactly. So once that Mojo brick is established, the book moves us into the day-to-day management of your income, which it calls the blow bucket. Just to be clear, this is basically your everyday checking account, right? Where your paycheck lands.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is the operational center of your finances.
Yeah.
And the book gives an exact percentage breakdown for how the money flowing into this blow bucket should be organized.
Okay, let's hear it.
60% for living, 10% for the splurge, and 20% for the fire extinguisher.
Let me just walk through how I understand this, and you can tell me if I am off base. The 60% is your basic survival. This is your rent, your groceries, your transportation, the electric bill.
Keeping the lights on.
Right. Now, if you are spending more than 60% just to keep the lights on the system, is basically waving a giant red flag that your lifestyle is fundamentally out of balance with your income, right?
That is exactly right. It serves as an automatic diagnostic tool. If your living expenses are at 80%, you instantly know you either need to drastically reduce your overhead or significantly increase your tap.
Got it. And then there is the 10% splurge. The book explicitly defines this as fun stuff. Now, I struggled with this at first. Why mandate spending money on fun when you might have debt to pay off? For full transparency, my splurge bucket basically goes straight to buying way too much Lego.
Which is perfectly fine. In fact, your Lego habit is structurally supported by this plan.
Finally, some validation.
The inclusion of fun stuff as a mandatory allocation is brilliant behavioral psychology. Most traditional, highly restrictive budgets fail for the exact same reason crash diets fail.
They are miserable.
They demand total unsustainable deprivation. If a financial plan demands that you never buy a coffee, never go to a movie, and never buy a Lego set, you might last 3 weeks before you completely rebound and binge spend.
It is the diet analogy perfectly. If you tell yourself you can't have one single piece of chocolate, you eventually crack and eat the entire cake.
Exactly.
By mandating that 10% of your bucket is specifically for splurging, it completely removes the guilt from spending. It acknowledges human nature instead of fighting against it.
It creates a sustainable behavioral loop. You get to enjoy the fruits of your labor today while still acting responsibly for tomorrow. Which brings us to the next allocation, 20% for the fire extinguisher. The text states this is specifically used to kill debt.
Kill debt. That is very aggressive intentional language.
Because debt requires an aggressive response. 20% is a very significant portion of an income to dedicate to one task. But the metaphor of the fire extinguisher is incredibly apt.
Because it's a fire.
Right. If there is a literal fire in your kitchen, you don't casually toss a cup of water on it when you have a spare moment. You grab the extinguisher and you aggressively target the flames until they're completely smothered. Because if you don't, the fire will consume the entire house.
Wow, yeah.
Consumer debt, credit cards, personal loans operates exactly like a fire. The compounding interest rapidly consumes your future wealth.
Okay, so we have 60% for living, 10% for splurging on Lego, and 20% for the fire extinguisher. I'm looking at my notes here, and I am definitely no math genius, but 60 plus 10 plus 20 is 90.
Good math.
Thank you. What is happening to the other 10% of my paycheck?
It is a glaring mathematical gap if you are only looking at the immediate day-to-day survival mechanisms. While the specific sections we are analyzing today focus heavily on mastering that initial 90% to stabilize your life and kill debt, any logical application uses that final 10% for long-term wealth building.
Oh, all right.
In broader applications, you will often see this referred to as a smile bucket. Money set aside for long-term goals that make you smile, like saving for a house deposit, a wedding, or long-term investments.
Ah, the smile bucket. Yeah, okay, so I actually tried setting up these specific buckets recently, and I have another confession to make.
Oh boy, more gems.
No worse. I ended up borrowing from my smile bucket to pay for a parking fine.
Oh no.
Yeah, I know, because I absolutely refused to touch my mojo brick, so I guess I am still working on the discipline part of the equation.
Actually, that is a perfect example of why the system works.
Wait, really?
Yeah. You had a localized failure, a parking fine. But the structure prevented a catastrophic failure. You didn't go into debt and you protected your foundational emergency fund. You just reallocated within the buckets.
Okay, that actually makes me feel a lot better about it. It is such an elegant way to look at something that usually causes so much panic.
It really is.
So let's take a moment to recap the core nuggets we have extracted from the book today. First, remember the apple tree logic. Wealth is a game of patience, so slow down. Stop agonizing over the tap and start paying deep attention to your bucket by keeping those sneaky deer away.
Yep.
If you need to plan your money, change the environment, use the date night rule, pour some wine, and get away from that stressful desk. Ditch the big banks and their apathy tax by doing a bank flip, and structure your money using a $2,000 Mojo safety brick, managing the rest with the blow bucket split. 60 for living, 10 for guilt-free splurging, and 20 to extinguish your debt.
And if we look at why this framework matters, it comes down to eliminating information overload. You do not need a degree in economics to be secure. By focusing on simple physical structures like setting up a fee-free bank or isolating a Mojo brick, you are taking tangible steps that protect your future without demanding you become a mathematician.
It takes the power back. Okay, before we wrap up, I feel like we are missing something.
What?
You promised a terrible money joke. Are you ready?
Oh man, I don't know if the world is ready for this.
Lay it on us.
Okay. Why did the Scarecrow become a successful financial advisor?
I have absolutely no idea.
Because he was outstanding in his field. And he knew exactly how to keep the deer away.
Oh my gosh, that is truly awful.
I told you, I tried to warn you.
I am reconsidering this entire friendship. But seriously, as we leave you today, we want to leave you with a provocative thought to chew on.
Yes. We have established that financial success is determined by the bucket, and we have talked about how the deer nibble away at the apple tree. So consider this. What if you spent just 1 week meticulously tracking your own personal deer?
Just 1 week.
If you spent 7 days observing those unthinking spending habits, the forgotten subscriptions, the convenience purchases, the extra gyms, how might that completely change what you believe is possible with the exact income you have right now?
Such a great challenge. Track those deer. And while you're at it, think about the funniest or most ridiculous sale mistake you've ever made. You know, like buying a bulk pack of a snack you hate just because it was 50% off.
We have all done it.
We really have. And it is all part of learning how our brains handle money. Thank you all so much for joining us for this deep dive. We hope this has given you a fresh behavioral perspective on your finances.
It has been fun.
It really has. Until next time, keep your buckets patched and your trees growing.